Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So let's talk about what happened to Vicente Luque this past weekend in his fight against Belal Muhammad. Now, I always make picks in my pre-fight analysis videos about who I think's going to win the fight. More times than not, my picks are about who I think's going to get it done from a technical perspective. Not, oh, well, I'm a fan of this guy, therefore I want him to win, therefore I'm picking him. That's not how I pick guys. I pick guys based on, oh, this guy's got this set of skills. I think he's going to implement said set of skills in the octagon. His skills are better than his opponent in this area, in this area, in this area, so I just think it gets him the win. That's how I make my picks. Not based on, oh, well, I love Vicente Luque. He's like my favorite fighter, so I'm going to pick him. That's not how I make my picks. With that said, I did, however, pick Vicente Luque to win the fight. Obviously, I was wrong. These things do happen. So I just want to break that down a little bit, what it was we saw. And this is not the first time we've seen this happen to guys. This is not the first time we've seen this happen to strikers in particular when facing a really strong grappler in the octagon. So everybody wants to know what happened to Vicente. You know, we know Vicente can grapple. He obviously is the better striker between himself and Belal. So what happened? Well, I'm going to tell you what happened. Vicente Luque froze is what happened. And that's partially a credit to Belal for freezing him, because it showed, as that fight went on, it showed that Luque was truly scared to really pull the trigger for fear of the takedown, for fear of getting taken down. We've seen this multiple times in fights. One of the most famous instances of this, in my opinion, was the Conor McGregor-Khabib fight. Now, you know, Conor had his moments in that fight, and he had a few instances where he landed a few shots. But if you go back and you watch that fight, you can look at that fight and you can see very clearly that Conor was not the same striker that he was against other fighters. Now, of course, this is a credit to Khabib and his takedown ability, and it's something that Conor had to specifically watch out for. But more than that, it tends to freeze the opponent, because when you go to throw a shot, you leave yourself open and extended from the armpit down, where a good grappler and wrestler can duck up under your arm, change levels, and get in on the body or get in on the legs. And if your arms are already out of a position to defend said takedown, then you obviously are more easily taken down. This is what happened to Vicente Luque on Saturday night. Now, I was a little bit disappointed because I felt like there was at least one time that I know of that he had Belal in pretty significant trouble. I thought he saw this. You know, looking back on it now and thinking on it now, I think maybe, you know, he's in there, he's fighting. You know, there's a lot going on, the crowd is loud, you know, he's processing a lot of things in real time. You know, us sitting on the couch and the commentators were able to clearly see, hey dude, he's hurt, dude, go after him. You know, but I don't think Vicente really understood how hurt Belal was in that very moment, because I'm pretty confident that Luque could have put him away. He didn't, for whatever reason. He saw something different than what we saw, and he didn't really go after him. I think a little bit of that was the fact that he didn't want to gas himself out either, because that moment took place, I'm pretty sure it was early in the third round. You still got, you know, 2, almost 3 hard rounds to go with a guy who's known to have good cardio and be a really, really solid wrestler and grappler. So I think that he was somewhat gun shy. Maybe he did know that he had Belal hurt, and he was just afraid to go after him because he didn't want to, you know, take a chance on throwing everything but the kitchen sink at Belal, tiring himself out when he wasn't able to get the finish, or going in, throwing everything at him with full power, overextending himself, Belal ducking up under him and getting the takedown, and then Luque finds himself down on his back again for 2-3 minutes throughout a round, getting ground controlled by Belal. So, I think it was a little bit of not wanting to gas himself out, why he didn't go in for the kill when he had Belal hurt. And, predominantly what happened throughout the whole rest of the fight. Luque was just, he was scared to let his hands go, man. It showed. He was scared to let his hands go. And I will say, too, and I have to give Belal credit for this, Belal learned to move. He learned to move his feet, didn't he? He learned about lateral movement, staying on that bicycle. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you know that I'm one of those people that I'm a big fan of the stand-up, striking, kickboxing sort of battles. That I just find those much more entertaining. I know a lot of people do, and there are people out there that just kind of have a hard-on for the grappling. It's just something they really are interested in. And me, myself, I have a background in grappling, and I took jiu-jitsu for a lot of years when I was younger. That's kind of, the first thing I ever really trained in regards to MMA. And, so I have an actual grappling background, but in terms of what I like to watch, hey, man, it's just not that fun. I like the finishes. I like the dynamic striking and sort of fighting style. I just find it more entertaining. And, this didn't happen. And, I don't want to be a hater and hate on Belal. Belal is somewhat of a boring fighter to me. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's just my opinion, guys. Don't bother jumping in the comments. Oh, you're hating on Belal. He did what he had to do. He won the fight. You're just mad because he beat him and it wasn't, something you like to see in terms of the way people beat other. You're right. You're right. I completely admit the only reason I'm even saying that about Belal is because I just don't find him to be a very entertaining fighter. Now, that doesn't mean you can't go all the way to the top and beat the champion and be the champion. You can be a boring-ass champion too, can't you? Of course you can. Khabib wasn't the most entertaining, fun fighter to watch. That's why I wasn't a big fan of when Khabib was the champion. But, no one could deny his dominance in terms of MMA. He dominated everyone he was in there with. So you couldn't deny his abilities and his dominance, but it doesn't mean I have to like it, man. Doesn't mean I have to think it's fun to watch, because to me, it just wasn't. Again, there's varying opinions on this thing. Some people just have a hard-on for it, and that's fine. And I'm not hating on those folks either. I think you have to be one of those people to really have an affinity for the style of Belal, because Belal is one of those guys. He's going to get you up against the fence. He's going to lock that leg in over top of your leg, and he's going to hold you up against that fence. He might try to land a couple of, short shots up to your face or something like that. But other than that, he's not a big submission threat. Belal is a threat of holding your ass down for long enough to where the judges are going to give him the fight based on control time and ground control time. That's it. That's what Belal is a threat of. He's not a knockout threat. I'm not saying, I think he probably has a knockout or two on his record. I'm not saying he never knocks guys out. I'm not saying he never has submitted a guy. I don't know exactly. I just know he's not a huge submission threat. He's not a huge knockout threat. He's a huge, I'm going to hold your ass down long enough to where the judges are going to give me the fight guy. That's just who Belal is. Not the most fun thing to watch, but I got to give Belal credit in this fight. And I said this in my pre-fight analysis that I thought Belal was going to be able to keep, at the least. I didn't think he was going to knock Luque out. I just didn't see it being possible, because Luque is a much more advanced striker than is Belal. And Belal just kind of throws ones and twos. He's not a combination sort of guy. But I did say that I felt pretty confident that Belal would be able to stay away from Luque for the most part throughout this fight, to where he himself wouldn't get finished. And that's what he did. And he learned to move around. He did a good job being on the bicycle, lateral movement, coming in, landing a couple of shots or throwing a couple of shots, and then, getting back out of the pocket, not staying in the pocket long enough to get caught. And Belal did a good job of that. He had a really good game plan going into the fight, and got to give him credit on that. Not the most fun guy to watch. And again, don't attack me. That's just my opinion. If you have a hard on for that sort of style and you think Belal is hella fun to watch, I'm not hating on you either, or Belal. It's just kind of my opinion. I don't think he's a very fun guy to watch. But hey, man, you don't always have to be fun and super entertaining to be a dominant fighter and to even become champion. And fighters like Khabib and here Islam, which I think Islam is somewhat entertaining in his fights, because he gets busy when he's on the ground with guys, and he's known to finish guys and look for submissions or ground and pound, that sort of thing. So Islam is somewhat more fun. Belal just, man, he's not going to win a lot of style points. He's not going to win a lot of fight of the night in entertainment sort of points. But hey, I guess that's not the name of the game. And he's one of those guys that he's a bread and butter, nuts and bolts type guy. He knows what to do to go in there and get the win. And he may not win over many hearts in terms of just being the most entertaining guy of the year, but he knows how to win fights, obviously, and I got to give him credit for that. Little disappointed in Luque. I felt like there were times he definitely could have let his hands go more than he did. He did not, however, and I think the heavy grappling attack, or at least the threat of the grappling, was enough to kind of freeze Luque for a lot of that fight and really cause him not to let his hands go. But hey, man, Luque takes a step back, drops back a couple of notches, and Belal, the number 6 guy, beat the number 5 guy. So all credit to Belal. We'll see who's next for him. He's obviously going to be getting probably a title shot if he wins his next fight. Be interesting to see him up against Hamzat Chimaev. But anyway, if Colby doesn't want that fight, hey, give it to Belal. Let's see how good Hamzat's grappling really is. I don't know, just a thought. All right, guys, appreciate you watching. I will see you next time. Peace.